Hello, welcome to Financial Fitness and Budgeting, presented to you by the Financial Information Service team at Services Australia. My name is Philip, and together with my colleague Philip, yes, we have two Phils presenting today, we will present information to help you better understand your finances and to assist you to manage your money. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're all meeting on. I'm speaking to you today from Naarm, also known as Melbourne, home of the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung peoples, part of the Kulin Nation. I want to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations. If you're attending our webinar as a live event, there is a question and answer feature you can access to ask questions while the webinar is in progress. You can access the Q&A by clicking on the icon that looks like a speech bubble with a question mark in it near the top right-hand corner of your screen. To protect your privacy, use your first name only or tick the box to send your question anonymously. Our team of moderators, if our team of moderators think your question would be useful for others to see, we may publish it for all. Otherwise, we may reply just to you. For those watching on YouTube after the event, you can find the links shared during the live event in the webinar summary section. Financial information service officers like me and my colleague Phil talk to people about all things money. We give information only. We don't provide advice or planning. Advice is telling people what to do with their money and how and when to do it. We don't do that. We provide free, confidential information to help you understand your financial options and empower you to take charge of your finances and feel confident in making your own choices. Today, we'll give you some hints and tips so you can plan for your future. We'll explain how to take charge of your finances, understand how to manage debt, how to create and achieve savings goals, as well as things to consider about insurance, where to access tools and resources to help you on your way, and how to stay on track, and where to get help if you need it. Today's presentation is general information only, so you may need to speak to us further regarding your own individual circumstances. The information in this webinar is correct as of today's date, the 11th of December 2025. So please refer to our website for further information now and in the future as payment rates and thresholds do change. Pardon me. Throughout today's webinar, there'll be lots of talk about the MoneySmart website. It's a treasure trove of tools and resources to assist you in, say, budgeting, saving, and managing your debt. It covers money issues from finding out if struggling with debt or seeking a no-interest loan for an essential item to understanding how compound interest works, what are shares, annuities, and how much will I need to retire. The website is moneysmart.gov.au. We'll drop a link over in the chat to your right, so please make sure you open it up, take note of the web address, and save it to your favourites. For some, hints and tips about managing your money can be exciting, just what you've been looking for. For others, it might be overwhelming or boring. So let's break it down to easy, manageable steps. Tracking spending, comparing money in and out, deciding your priorities, and making your money work for you. The first step of any budget or financial goal is to know how much money you've got coming in and how much you've got going out. So get started by tracking your spending. Tracking your money helps build awareness of yourself, and practicing tracking helps you become aware of when and how you spend. Some people will track for 3 months or a month, a week or just a day. You don't have to start big. Doing a little bit often is okay. There are plenty of apps and tools available to help you track your spending, including from MoneySmart, but you could find your own system using a pen and paper or a spreadsheet. You could track in real time or go over banking transactions to review your spending, whatever works for you. Being able to see your spending habits in dollar figures can sometimes be a real eye-opener. For example, a $5 coffee per day adds up to $35 per week. That's over $1,800 every year that could be going somewhere else. Of course, savings could be found from other things like subscriptions for services you're not using, like a streaming service or a gym membership. Those savings could be used to keep that necessary daily coffee and even add a cake. So, tracking helps you move your money to where you need it and where you want it. Your expenses can generally be placed into one of two categories. Basic necessities such as housing, food, utilities, transport, health, or lifestyle choices like eating out and entertainment. Some expenses such as mortgage or rent payments are fixed and don't change very often, while regular bills such as utilities and credit card payments can vary from week to week or month to month. The purpose of a budget is to make your money go where it is needed most. So start by putting aside enough to take care of your basic necessities and living expenses, then work out what you have for your savings and lifestyle choices. Try to budget a specific amount for fun, leisure and personal expenses, but don't make your budget so tight that you won't be able to stick to it. And monitor it. Some people will take a calculator shopping, others will check transactions later to see how they're going. It's a good idea to revisit your budget every 3 to 6 months to make sure it still reflects your current income and spending, especially when there's been significant changes such as a new job, buying a car or house, or having children. Reviewing can help you make sure it's a realistic budget. And if you find you have funds left over, that could be used to pay down debts, start saving, or perhaps spending on something you like. You will see if necessities are being met, like housing, loan repayments, and it gives a chance to discover possible savings, like less takeaways. And if you're not able to meet your expenses, it allows you to seek help early by contacting the National Debt Helpline on 1800 007 007. We'll give that number again later. Now, many people find it easier to work on financial changes by making small changes bit by bit. You could start by shopping around for better deals on things like gym memberships, phone plans, electricity supplies, health cover, and insurance. It's also worth asking what you could cut back on. Say, drop a streaming subscription and watch more free-to-air. And when writing a shopping list, factor in another meal and have one less takeaway ordered in. Whatever you decide, be realistic and specific about what it is you want out of these changes. Start small and make adjustments as you go. Talk to other people and share your goals to stay motivated. And remember, MoneySmart has plenty of information on choices and ideas on where changes can be made. Mobile phones are many and varied. Keep your old phone or get a new phone. Buy a new phone outright or get a new phone from the provider as part of the deal. Prepaid or monthly bills, data caps or unlimited use. How do you choose a mobile phone plan? Well, check your usage. Do you need to have a plan with 1-800 numbers or overseas calls included? If you wanted to get a new phone on a plan, check the cost of the phone and the features. Do you need all the features on the phone, or could you go for a cheaper phone with only the features you will use? Check it meets your needs. You might also consider bundling your mobile phone expenses in with the family landline or internet plan, rather than keeping your arrangement separate. When you've decided on a mobile plan, you'll need to sign a contract, but before you do, it's important to ask questions if there's anything you don't understand. Ask for a critical information summary, or CIS. The CIS will help you understand what your new phone service is really going to cost you and what you'll be getting for your money. A service provider must also make its contracts available on its website by law. Accommodation or housing is generally met by renting or buying. Both have advantages and disadvantages. If you buy, you have freedom to make changes to your home, even if it's just putting up a picture or painting a room. It's also a form of enforced saving. It builds wealth and it gives security of tenure. On the other hand, there is a large upfront cost and ongoing costs like rates and maintenance. And there is a large amount of capital tied up in just one asset. And if you miss repayments, your home may be repossessed, and it is possible the property decreases in value. When renting, you may only need to meet a bond and first month's rent up front to get a place to live, not a deposit. Maintenance is met by the landlord, and you may be able to rent in an area you could not afford to buy in. Renting, though, has the risk of being insecure housing, particularly when your rental agreement ends or your rent rises and becomes unaffordable. For most people, the only way to buy a home is to use a mortgage or home loan from a lender, usually a bank. The mortgage or home loan generally uses the house as security. That is, if you cannot meet the loan repayments, the house can be taken by the lender. When you start looking for a property to buy, consider the extra costs of purchase, such as stamp duty, legal fees, mortgage insurance, and utility connection. Each loan product is different, so check for establishment and ongoing fees, the interest rate charged, the ability to make additional repayments, redraw options, and features such as offset accounts. Find out if these meet your needs and be realistic how much you can borrow, how much you can afford in repayments, and factor in rising interest rates. And remember, there are costs of maintenance, rates, and utilities and insurance that are ongoing to factor in on top of mortgage repayments. Check out the mortgage calculator on MoneySmart to check and calculate possible repayments and borrowing limits. So, if there are many different home loans, how do you choose? Well, they vary, but one big feature is fixed or variable rate. Some loans will have both. Others may be just variable rate. What fixed or variable rate refers to is the interest rate. The interest rate is the charge or cost of borrowing money to buy the property. A home loan is a long-term debt, often repaid over 25 years. So a small difference in interest rate adds up over time in dollar amounts. A fixed rate is where the interest rate is set for a period of time, for example, 5 years. A fixed rate can make budgeting easier because you know what your repayments are. And fixed rate home loans generally have fewer home loan features, which can mean the cost of the loan can be cheaper. A fixed rate means if interest rates go up, your interest rate stays the same. But it also means if interest rates go down, because your interest rate is fixed, it won't go down. Variable interest rates means your interest rate can go up and down as lending market changes. For example, when the Reserve Bank announces the latest cash rate changes, it can affect the interest rate your lender charges you. With variable rate loans, You may be offered greater flexibility with loan features. And it's usually easier to switch loans if you find a better deal. But it can make budgeting harder as repayments increase if interest rates go up. If you're not sure to go fixed or variable, you may be able to have some of the loan at fixed and some variable, split it perhaps 50-50 or 80-20, for example. There's a lot of choice. So when choosing a home loan, look at the features and options on offer and decide what features you must have and those that would be nice to have. Some features you may never use, so why have them? They may be adding to the cost of your loan. Compare home loans, shop around, check out interest rates, establishment and ongoing admin fees, also how long the loan is for, and other features such as redraw, line of credit, and offset accounts, and consider if you need them. And check out how often you can make repayments. Are they monthly or fortnightly? All these can make a big difference to how much you pay over the term of the loan. To navigate your way to choosing a loan, you might consider getting a mortgage broker. A good broker should work with you. They should make sure you understand what you need, know what you can afford to pay, find options to suit your needs, and explain each loan in a way you can understand and help you to apply and to manage the process. If you can, consider making extra repayments to your mortgage. Paying your mortgage early will save money. Benefits can be reducing the expense of paying interest and freeing up cash for other investments. This can give you greater financial security. And review your loan. You may find a loan which is charging a lower interest rate and be able to switch over to a new loan that could save you money and time. But be aware, if you do have a redraw facility, you may be tempted to spend it on things that you don't really need, and there can be extra fees and charges for early repayment of a mortgage. Make use of mortgage calculators to find out the effect of additional repayments and changes of interest rates on your costs. See MoneySmart, of course. And one more thing, if possible, avoid interest-only loans. Most loans are paying the interest and the principal, that is the amount you actually borrowed. This means you are paying off the loan. It will eventually disappear. If you are just paying the interest only, it means at the end of the loan's term, you will still need to pay the amount you borrowed. Here's an example of how paying your loan earlier can save you money and a couple of ways to do it, even perhaps on a tight budget. In this example, Beth and Peter choose to make repayments fortnightly rather than monthly. This means instead of 12 repayments per year, they're making 26. Effectively, that is an extra month of repayments paid every year compared to monthly repayments. For this couple, borrowing $370,000 based on an interest rate of 5.6%, they would pay off their loan 3 years and 9 months earlier and save over $57,000 in interest. And if Beth and Peter keep their repayments the same, if interest rates go down, they are effectively lowering their loan without the effort of making repayments. Extra repayments, that is. Now, that's all from me. I will now hand you over to my colleague, Phil. So don't worry, you won't miss out on your fill. Over to you. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. As mentioned, I'm also Phil. That way you supposedly can't get us mixed up. I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wonnarua people in the beautiful Hunter Valley of New South Wales, and I have the pleasure of presenting the second half of our webinar today. So let's get on with it. Debt, whether it be a home loan, a car loan, or using a credit card to pay for household items, is borrowing money. It requires paying the money back, and there are going to be fees, charges, and interest rates. When borrowing money, such as a large amount for a home or a small amount, like using a credit card for a small purchase, the questions you ask or you need to ask are the same. Do I really need it? Do I need that latest phone or car? Does what I have now do the job that I need? Is there another option? Smaller purchases can potentially be used or obtained by using lay-bys or using savings. When borrowing, ask if you can make the can you make the repayments? Can I afford it? You might be able to afford it now, but if interest rates go up, will you still be able to make those repayments? Can it wait? Do you really need it now, or could the purchase be put off for a little while? Looking more closely at ways you can borrow money, credit cards are a very commonly used thing. Credit cards often have an interest-free period, which means that if the balance is paid off in that time, then no interest is charged. Some can have a longer interest-free period, even potentially up to a year. Generally though, the longer the interest-free period, the higher the interest will be once the interest-free period ends. And if you don't pay off the balance in that time, interest and fees charged can be really, really high. You may actually want to consider moving to another credit card that has a lower interest rate and transfer the balance on the old card if need be. Excuse me. Consolidating and reducing to one card also reduces that temptation to spend on multiple cards. Some of the other more common forms of debt are personal loans and car loans. Personal loans are a borrowed amount of money that you have to repay within a certain period of time, which is referred to as a term, and you'll be required to sign a credit contract that specifies the amount that you need to pay back and how you're going to repay it. Similarly, a car loan is a personal loan taken out for the specific purpose of buying a new or used car. The term of a personal loan can vary, but it's usually between 1 to 7 years, and many lenders will allow you to make extra repayments from time to pay out the loan early. However, if you don't pay off the full amount of the loan by the end of the term, or you can't afford to make those equal payments over the life of the loan, the final payment must be made as a lump sum, meaning that you may be left with a large amount of money to pay off or to refinance when the term ends. Personal loans can be secured or unsecured. The difference being that a secured loan, they're made where you offer an asset, typically the car that you're buying, as security for the loan. In return, the secured loan will often have a lower interest rate because the lender is facing less risk. You'll also want to consider fixed or variable interest rates. Fixed interest rate loans are often lower, but don't allow for extra repayments or flexibility, whereas variable interest rate loans tend to be a higher interest rate, but in return, you're able to actually pay it off early. Whilst personal loans may allow you to purchase things sooner rather than later, it's always worth asking yourself what alternatives are there. Could you do without for a few extra months while you save up some extra cash? Do you have any existing refinance or redraw options available to you? Could you use some of your existing savings to borrow less upfront? No matter what your decision, it's important to compare your options and understand the finer points of the loan you're considering. So make good use of the MoneySmart website that we've already shared with you today to compare your repayments and interest rates and make sure that it'll work within your budget. A popular alternative to taking out a personal loan for bigger purchases are interest-free buy now, pay later schemes. There are plenty of these around, and for the most part, they're pretty similar, but as always, it pays to read the fine print. These schemes typically offer the ability to make a purchase on the spot and pay for it in multiple installments, whether it be 4 equal payments every 2 weeks or smaller amounts over a longer period, such as 6 or 12 months. They may take the form of an account for online purchases or a card that can be used at particular retailers. Many of these schemes don't charge interest on the purchases, but you may have account keeping fees, sign-up fees, and you'll generally have really heavy penalties for missed or late payments. In some cases, the price you actually may pay for the item overall will be higher, meaning that whilst you're not paying interest, the purchase costs more in the long run than it would have if you'd been able to buy it with your own cash outright at the start. Check the fine print, and if you can't afford the repayments, ask yourself if you should be taking that deal. Sometimes people think they can just make the minimum repayment for now, their situation will then get better in the future and they'll increase their repayments. But if that doesn't pan out, this can result in more debt and more stress. Also make sure to check the fees and charges. Even when an ad says no deposit, no interest, nothing to pay, you may still have to pay fees like an application fee, monthly account keeping fees, and even payment processing fees. These will always be listed on your credit contract though, so make sure that you read it thoroughly before signing. A payday loan is a high cost short-term loan. They're typically small amount loans for up to about $2,000 and will generally need to be repaid anywhere between 16 days and a year. They can also be for longer periods of time in some instances though. Fees and charges on payday loans are actually limited to a maximum amount by the government. So while the exact fee that you're going to be charged will be dependent on the amount of money you borrow, they're quite extensive. Credit providers are allowed to charge you a one-off establishment fee of 20% and a monthly account keeping fee of 4% of the amount that you have actually borrowed. There can also be government fees or charges and default fees or charges and enforcement expenses if you fail to pay back the loan. If you do fall into default, the maximum a lender can charge you is twice the amount of the loan. This includes any repayments you've actually made under the contract plus those default fees. So before you sign that credit contract, find out when you will have to repay the loan and what happens if you miss a repayment. With payday loans though, lenders are not allowed to charge interest on any loan or charge direct debit fees on any payday loan that has been entered into after the 1st of February 2017. If you think you've been charged too much for a loan or you've been given unsuitable credit, you can talk to your credit provider or you can get free legal advice. And we'll be talking a little bit more about legal advice and debt in a little while. Now, some people may find themselves eligible for what's called a no interest loan scheme or NILS, which can offer up to $2,000 interest-free for essential goods and services without the need for a credit check. To be eligible, you need to be eligible for or in receipt of a Centrelink healthcare or pension concession card, have lived at your current address for more than 3 months, and be able to make those loan repayments, typically over a 12 to 18 month period. Now, the beautiful thing about NILS, it has 0 interest and no fees or charges ever. You can use NILS to help cover unexpected costs and pay money back at a rate that's manageable for you. The scheme offers loans up to $2,000 for essential goods and services, including household items like appliances, white goods or furniture. Can include car repairs, registration, medical and dental costs, and that sort of stuff. In some cases, you may also be able to borrow up to $3,000 for things like a bond or rent in advance, council rates, that sort of thing. NILS providers are based in community centres and other local organisations across Australia. So to find out more about no interest loans and a full list of where you can use what you can use them for or where to find your nearest provider, visit the Good Shepherd Microfinance website or call 136 457. Now, people can get into debt for many reasons, including losing a job, divorce or separation, getting sick or having an accident. Whatever your situation, if you're struggling to repay your debts, don't hesitate to get help. When you sign that loan or credit contract, you're making a legal promise to pay back the money that you borrow or to pay for the service that you sign up for within agreed timeframes. So you really need to do your best to ensure that you can do that and repay the money that you owe, unless of course you dispute that debt. Now, there are several ways you can manage your debt repayments if they're becoming problematic. You might be able to renegotiate, going to struggle with my words today, renegotiate a better rate with your lender. And if successful, you could actually keep paying the old repayment amount to pay that debt off faster. There's also debt consolidation, which involves rolling all of your existing debts into one loan. This may help you to better manage your repayments, but it also may make your situation worse if the interest rate or the fees in that new loan are higher than what they were with your original debts. There are a few things you need to consider and do before you refinance your debts, as while a debt consolidation loan can be helpful if it means you pay less fees and interest. It may only be a short-term fix if you can't meet the repayments on your new loan. Firstly, talk to your credit provider. Ask your lender if they can change your repayments or extend your loan. If the debt that you're having trouble with is a mortgage for your home, it may be one of those things where you need to consider selling the home. As awful as that sounds, you may be better off to sell your home if you're struggling with those mortgage repayments, as it's better to sell the home on your terms than for the lender to sell it as a mortgagee sale. And avoid refinances who make unrealistic promises about getting you out of debt or who advertise they can help you no matter how much you owe. Depending on your circumstances, you could also be eligible for government payments or services. Our payment and service finder is an easy way for you to learn more about government and community organisation support in your state or territory. Based on the information you provide, the service will suggest payments for you to explore further. Now, if you find yourself impacted by some of the things we've talked about today, or you're really struggling to make ends meet, it's important to act quickly, and there are places you can go for free help and guidance. Financial counselling is a free service offered by community organisations, community legal centres, and some government agencies that can help you solve your money problems. When you call the National Debt Helpline number that's on the screen at the moment, you'll be automatically transferred to the phone service in your state, though opening hours can differ in different states, of course. Similarly, the Mobstrong Debt Helpline is a free legal service about money matters for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples from anywhere in Australia. You can also visit the National Association of Community Legal Centres website for details of community legal centres across Australia. You can also call them on 02 9264 9595. And surprisingly enough, the Money Smart website is a fantastic resource and has a section on trouble with debt and has tips on how to approach your credit provider to ask for that hardship assistance. Enough about debt as a starting point. Let's look at creating savings. Planning is the key to successful investing. Creating a plan will help you find options that fit your time frame and your risk tolerance to help you reach your financial goals sooner. Set goals to help you stay on track and avoid dipping into your savings. You may want to set up a direct deposit so that some of your pay goes directly into your savings. You may also be able to set that up through your employer specifically so you don't have to do it yourself. Put some money away for unexpected events or an emergency. If you get a pay rise, consider putting a little extra aside for those savings. Now with those goals, set a target. Determine how much is needed to reach your goal and how long it will take, ensuring that you're being realistic about this, as it can be really easy not to be. Regularly review where you're at to make sure that you're on track and commit to those savings goals. Some people even have a financial mentor who could be like a trusted family member or friend to help them along the way. Setting short-term goals can help. This could include reducing a credit card debt, buying a new TV, car, or saving for a holiday. An important thing to do is identify those spending leaks you may have. Now, Phil mentioned some numbers earlier. Do you need that coffee every day? $5 for a coffee every day means you could save up to $1,800 after a year, as an example. That could be a return airfare for an overseas holiday. Set up a separate savings account. There are a number of accounts that pay significantly higher interest that is above the base rate if you meet specific criteria. Sometimes that criteria might be as simple as making a deposit every month and not making a withdrawal. We also have long-term goals. These typically are plans to achieve in around 5 years or more. Could include things like buying your first home. The sooner you start to save, the more you'll earn with compound interest. For example, if you save $200 per fortnight at 4% with compound interest after 5 years, you could have close to $30,000. With compound interest, you'll earn interest on your initial savings and on the interest you've already earned. So yes, you're getting interest on your interest. This is something I wish I'd understood better when I was younger. Thinking a bit further ahead, if you can do it, make extra contributions to super as it's a great way to boost your retirement savings. It can also reduce your tax. And if you're on a low income, you may be eligible for extra contributions from the government. An emergency fund is money you set aside to cover urgent or unexpected costs. This could be car repairs or an urgent medical bill. It provides a financial safety net so you don't have to borrow money if something happens to you or your family. If you're able to put $20 a week into a savings account, you'll have just over $1,000 by the end of the year. That's the start of a good amount of savings to give you some financial breathing space. If you're thinking longer term, it's worth having a little bit more put aside if you can. Let's talk about the wonderful thing that is insurance. Insurance is a risk management strategy. If you lose or damage something, can you afford to replace it? So like if your car was involved in an accident, would you have enough savings to be able to buy another car if you needed to? This is where insurance comes in. If that item is lost or damaged, the insurance company will either replace the item or provide a monetary payout. Some insurances are compulsory, like third-party insurance that is required when you register your car. Other insurances are voluntary, but all insurance is a contract, which is represented by a policy where an individual or entity gets financial protection or reimbursement against losses. And if we look at car insurance, you can actually cover yourself and others from losses. Be aware though that most insurances have an amount that you need to pay towards the replacement costs. This is typically referred to as an excess payment. Another insurance that you might want to think about is travel insurance, especially if you're traveling overseas. It's important to read the product disclosure statement, or PDS, for any insurance, but especially for travel insurance, as some of them will not cover your costs at the time of the event and only reimburse you when you either get home or after you've paid for your treatment or the changes to your travel itinerary. Choosing insurance can be tricky, but there's a number of things you need to consider when you're doing it. How much is required to maintain your lifestyle if you're injured or become ill? When you put together the costs of things like your mortgage, childcare, education, any other debts, and your living expenses, how much are you going to need? Will your super and other investments and any paid leave that you have from work be enough? Thinking about this will give you an idea of how much cover you may need. Considering this is not only necessarily when you initially organise that insurance, but should also be a consideration when you're regularly reviewing what you have. So on that topic, there's a few ways to save on insurance. The first one is to make sure that you check your insurance every time it comes up for renewal. Don't fall into the trap of just renewing the same insurance each year. Check that you're getting the best deal and the best level of cover. Get multiple quotes. Most insurance quotes can be done within minutes online. And if you do this, you may find you can save hundreds on the same level of cover, just simply with a different company. Looking at personal insurance, there's several different personal insurance policy types. Life insurance is typically a lump sum that is paid out when you pass away and helps towards costs. Total permanent disablement is cover that helps you if you're permanently unable to work. Trauma insurance is a lump sum that can be paid if you suffer a traumatic event, like having a heart attack or a stroke. Income protection insurance typically will help pay an income if you're temporarily unable to work due to illness. Like all insurances, there's lots of rules and options. These are covered in that product disclosure statement, or PDS. So you need to make sure you read that. If you need help, you can also talk to your super fund. And surprisingly enough, once again, there's a lot of information on the MoneySmart website. Pensioner concession and healthcare cards are automatically issued to people that are in receipt of a payment from Services Australia, depending on the type of payment you receive. But you may also be able to claim a low-income healthcare card if you're not in receipt of a payment, providing you satisfy residence requirements and an income test covering the 8 weeks prior to claiming. Similarly, some seniors who cannot receive a pension due to their income or assets may be able to claim a Commonwealth Seniors Health Card, as the income test for that card has a much higher cut-off point. All of these cards provide discounts on medications covered under the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme. And you may also find that your state or territory government and local councils may offer other discounts as well. A really useful tool for you is our Payment and Service Finder. You can find it on our website by typing in Payment Finder in the search box and following the prompts. The tool can be used to estimate rates of payment based on your current financial position, or to estimate the rate if a change in circumstances occurred to you, such as your earnings increasing or decreasing. Self-service is the easiest way for people to complete their business with us. You can manage most of your Medicare, Centrelink and child support information online or by phone self-service. And a MyGov account lets you link a range of Australian government services with one username and password. So you can access all of your online accounts with Services Australia, as well as other government agencies and online services like Department of Veterans Affairs as an example, in one place. If you require assistance with accessing, creating or linking services to your MyGov account, you can find more information by selecting the help button at my.gov.au or by calling the MyGov help desk on 132 307 and selecting option 1. A MyGov digital assistant is also now available for customers who need help using MyGov. The digital assistant is available any time of the day or night from either a desktop or a mobile device. Using our digital services means you'll be first in line every time and don't have to wait on a phone call or in the office. As we transform our services and digital first delivery expands, Services Australia are developing and refining its products and services to allow people to manage their own affairs via easy to use digital options. Using self-service options is a way that you can choose to complete your business with us quicker and easier at a time of your choosing. We also have online guides and videos with step-by-step instructions to help you make the most of your online accounts and your Express Plus mobile apps. And did you know that Services Australia has a YouTube channel where you can find our previous webinars? There are various recorded webinars on a whole range of topics for you to watch. Just search Services Australia FIS webinars. Some of you may want a little or potentially a lot of help to deal with us. You can authorise a person or an organisation to do this. The type of arrangement you choose should depend on what you need. For example, a correspondence nominee can ask questions about your Centrelink payments and services, tell us about changes to your circumstances, respond to requests for information, update your income and asset details, complete and sign forms and statements on your behalf, and get copies of letters. On the other hand, nominating a person or organisation as a payment nominee means that your Centrelink payment will go straight into the payment nominee's bank account, not yours. And of course, the Financial Information Service is here to help. As Phil said earlier, the Financial Information Service is a free and confidential service available to all Australians. A Financial Information Service officer can help you build your skills to make more informed financial decisions. We can help you understand the results of your decisions in the short and long term and help you take control of your finances to increase lifestyle choices. How do you get in touch with us? You can speak to a FIS officer in several ways, so there's always an option to suit. To get started, give 132 300 or any of the Centrelink numbers a call and say Financial Information Service when asked why you're calling. We'll aim to resolve your inquiry over the phone, but can also book you either a face-to-face or a video chat appointment if your circumstances are a little bit more involved. You may also find us out and about in your local community, speaking at expos or providing information at stalls. And of course, we regularly host live webinars just like this one. On the screen now are some of the other many services available to help you no matter your situation. For example, if you had more questions regarding aged care and home care, you could make an appointment with one of our aged care specialist officers by calling 1800 227 475. And if you need to talk with someone because you're dealing with a difficult situation, Services Australia social workers can assist you. Simply call 132 850. And so concludes today's event. Phil and I would like to thank you for your attendance, and we hope the information in the webinar has been helpful to you. You can watch this event and other previous webinars by visiting our website or YouTube channel, and there's always future topics and events to attend. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.